Euzu billahi mineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri ve hlul min lisani yefkahu kavli. Rabbena la tuzigh. Euzu billahi mineşşeytanirracim. I'm sorry, I forgot to close the YouTube video. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه اللهم نور قلوبنا واشرح صدورنا بنور القرآن والإيمان والإسلام اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. Selamun Aleyküm ve Rahmetullahi ve Berekatuhu. Inshallah, today we will continue from where we left in the 26th word. So we've been studying the addendum last 2 weeks, so this is the third one. And with this addendum, we will be concluding the 26th word. We will see if we can conclude today, but this is where we are. And the 26th word, as you would remember, is about the divine determining and power of choice. Divine determining qadr and power of choice, juzi ihtiyari or juzi ihtiyar. And sorry, in the addendum, we started discussing apparently not so relevant topic, which is about the ways leading to Almighty God, how we can reach Almighty God, how we can reach to the divine truth. However, as we start studying it, it became obvious that this is indeed about the divine determining the qadr, even the juzi ihtiyar, because it locates ourselves within the bigger picture of existence. And so far, we studied 2 steps in this addendum. But let's start from the beginning. It talks about an alternative path to Almighty God. So author says, there are many ways that are taken from Quran. So many ways of, let's say, different groups, different ideologies, not different ideologies, but the Quranic, let's say, practices. All different, but all still taken from Quran, so has truth in them. There are many of them, but the author said, okay, here is another one, which is shorter, safer, and more general than others. And we studied a little bit what it means being more general or safer or shorter. We will touch on that again in the conclusion at the very end. But so far what we studied is, if you follow this path, the possibility of deviating from the Sirat al-Mustaqim, the true path, or the straight path, was little, like much less. These possibilities was much less compared to the other paths. Also, it is more general in the way that it is about all faculties of the human being, or it's about the human being as a whole, rather than relying on a certain faculty or certain experience, like only relying on love, let's say, or only relying on wisdom. And the author summarized this path as the way of impotence, poverty, compassion, and reflection. Ajz, fakr, shefkat, and tefekkur. Impotence, poverty, compassion, and reflection. So we start talking about that, comparing it with, let's say, like ecstatic love, or some other concepts. And then the author said, okay, there are 4 steps to achieve this path, or to be on this path. Okay, so we will study these 4 steps. He said, if you like to go on the way of impotence, poverty, compassion, and reflection. And initially, I thought these 4 steps were corresponding to these 4 aspects, or 4, let's say, the component of this way. But then we realized that that was not a true understanding of the text. If I'm not mistaken, Yusuf warned us about that. So the 4 steps are not, the impotence, poverty, compassion, and reflection, but rather we should take this impotence, poverty, compassion, and reflection as whole, as the way. And now we are studying 4 steps to, to be on this way, or using this way to reach the Almighty God. And let me start. Okay, let me start from here. I will quickly read the first and the second steps as well, and then continue from the third step. The method of this short path is to follow the practices of the Prophet, ﷺ, perform the religious obligations, and give up serious sins. So this is the summary of the path, okay? And or let's say the practical manifestation of this path. If you are on this path, this is how it will manifest itself. You will find yourself following the practices of Prophet. And it is especially to perform the prescribed prayers correctly and with attention, and following them, and meaning after them, to say the tasbihat. The verse, therefore, do not justify yourselves, point to the first step. The verse, and be not like those who forget God, and he therefore makes them forget their own selves, points to the second step. So we studied these 2 steps already. The verse, whatever good happens to you is from God, but whatever evil befalls you is from yourself, points to the third step. Inshallah, we will continue from here. The verse, everything will perish save his countenance, points to the 4th step. A brief explanation of these 4 steps is as follows. The first step, as the verse, therefore do not justify yourself, suggests, it is not to purify the soul. For on account of his nature and innate disposition, man loves himself. Indeed, he loves himself before anything else, and only himself. So this is the state of man at this first step. And then the author says, thus his purification and cleansing at this stage, in this step, is not to purify himself, it is not to absolve himself. So do not see yourself as perfect, do not blame just others. When you look at yourself, do not absolve yourself from the guilt. So this is the purification and cleansing at this stage. Realize that the only thing your soul does is evil. Or perception and acceptance of good. So this is what you are. You either accept good, enjoy it, observe it, send thanks to the creator, or block this the good and then cause evil. Realize this. This is the first step. The second step, he said, as the verse, and be not like those who forget God, and he therefore makes them forget their own selves, teaches, man is oblivious of himself and is not aware of himself. So we gave some examples here. So for instance, he said, when he thinks of death, it is in relation to others, as if he himself will not die. Or when Quran talks about, let's say, misdoings, he says, oh yeah, these other people, you know, they are terrible people, and Quran is complaining about them. So this is man's state. Or when he compares himself with, let's say, others, sorry, he again, in relation to the first step, he does not see any guilt himself, but only in others. And the author suggested that his purification, cleansing, and training at this stage is the reverse of this state. Meaning, that is to say, when oblivious of himself, it is not to be oblivious. Think about your own death. Again and again, every time you have the chance, think about that. You are enjoying something, a beautiful spring view, and then you are enjoying the flowers. Think about the death of the flowers, and then immediately death of yourself. Remind yourself that you will die. Don't be oblivious. That is to forget himself when it comes to pleasure. Forget himself when it comes to pleasure and ambition and greed, and to think himself when it comes to death and service of others. So this is you. You will die, and only thing you should do is service. That should be your life. When it comes to pleasure, ambition, and greed, forget about yourself. Don't be part of it. And inshallah, we will continue from the third step. But before that, do you have any comments, disagreements, objections, edits, questions? Okay, silence. I take it as we can continue with the third step. And I think, please go ahead. That's wonderful.
I don't have a lot of comments, but I mean, I find that last line to forget yourself in terms of your innate sort of desires and you know, inclinations, right? Things that you just inherently are drawn towards, for the sake of you know, remembering death, or maybe living a good life, you know, in service of others. It for me, you know, it seems like, you know, where do you draw the line, right? Is there ever too much service, right? Is there a balance you can, you know, you can draw? And of course, you know, like maybe some ambition is okay, right, for the sake of having a livelihood. But maybe, you know, not ambition for status, but ambition for maybe having a good job or something, and not necessarily greed, but, you know, trying to have the most for your, you know, good situation for yourself and your family or something like that. Where do we draw the line? Is it more so just about intention, or like the actual way it is done?
Jazakallah khairan, very sorry. very relevant and important questions. I was thinking the same when we read, forget yourself when it comes to pleasure, ambition, and greed, and to thinking yourself when it comes to death and service of others. So when we look at the life of the prophet, which I know only little, unfortunately, and may Allah give me the means and the ambition, inshallah, to learn more. But the tiny bit I know that he did not live a miserable life. Right? There are certain periods that you have to suffer, that he suffered, but it was not out of choice. Like he was not like, I'm a prophet, I have to suffer, so I will, give away everything I have. I will not have anything. So I will make myself suffer. We don't see such thing in his life. When he's had to suffer due to some circumstances, the part of as a divine plan, part of the qadr, let's say, qadr, he took it the best way a human being can take. He took it as an opportunity to get closer to his creator. He saw it as being freed from, let's say, all the connections and the reliance on others. So he, he saw it as an opportunity to cleanse himself. But when he is given, let's say, the livelihood to enjoy, we know that he enjoyed it as well. When he had a certain amount of wealth, he used it. But again, we see that he used most of it for, again, service as well. Just practical examples, like these are only, again, extremely practical examples. Of course, we will find a middle ground, like meaning from these practicalities, we have to extract some, universal truths, which is called sunnah, and then try to apply it to ourselves. And what I'm trying to say, I guess it depends on, accepting what is given to you. And if the pleasure is given to you, just enjoying the pleasure for the sake of God and being thankful for it. But then not to invest yourself and your life to gain or gather more pleasure. Again, another maybe practical example would be, I heard there's about a Sahaba. He would work really hard, making the commerce or some other opportunities he had for earning some money, having some wealth. He would really work hard, let's say for a year, and then he would use whatever he accumulates as a means for prayers, for instance, to go to Hajj and so on, because at that time he would sorry, I said Sahaba, but probably it was the later generations. It would take a lot of effort to go to Mecca to make the Hajj. So that was his purpose. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, that was his purpose, to make the prayers, to worship. And then if such worship requires to be part of some, the transactions, earning some livelihoods and so on, he would do that. He wouldn't complain. He would even maybe have some pleasure, but he wouldn't do it to accumulate wealth. That wouldn't be his purpose. But if he is given wealth, out of a good deal, for instance, in his trades, I assume he wouldn't reject it as well. So the way I see it, it's like, since we are studying Qadar as well, if I have some pleasures, being thankful for it. If I have some suffering, being thankful for it. To the extent both take you closer to the Creator. I guess that's the line. Whether it takes me closer to my Creator or not. And we can be very honest to ourselves, like, because it's only you who can answer this question. Birkan cannot, for instance, impose artificial boundaries on Atik. Atik would know himself, whether whatever I'm doing here getting me closer to my Creator or not. I guess that's the line. Like, the line is not about whether I should be rich or poor, whether I should eat good food or bad food. The line is whether this takes me closer to the Creator or not. And you would know it. When you have doubt, you would ask the Prophet, what is the right thing to do in such situation? So I have some doubts whether this will take me to my Creator or not. And I don't want to, trial and error with everything. So what would Prophet do in such a scenario or in such a situation? I guess that's the line. The line is not about specific, the conditions. You have a perfectly cooked fried chicken in front of you. Should you eat it or not? So it's not the matter, I assume. Like, yes, you can eat it if it takes you to your Creator, but you shouldn't eat it. It becomes haram if you eat it and attribute everything there to the chicken or the one who prepares you the chicken. Probably that's the line. I don't know what others think.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That was very helpful.
Yusuf, please go ahead.
Maybe it might be just a repetition of what you said, but I guess the emphasis in here can be on the self. So looking for joy for the self versus looking for the joy for the sake of remembrance or for the thanks being offered to the Creator. This might be the line to be drawn in there. Am I looking for comfort, for example, for the sake of my nafs, myself seeking comfort, or is it going to be a means for me to be thankful for it? Generally, my instinct is my nafs wants comfort. So I guess at that moment, I need to stop and ask myself, am I offering the appropriate thanks for that? Or am I going to be able to offer the thanks for that? So, which might be the line to be drawn in there. And like practically speaking, another application that comes from Prophet's life is to the end of his life. We see that scene in which Umar radiallahu anha comes near him and he sees that Prophet was sleeping, and then he wakes up and there's this, whatever he was sleeping on was a hard surface. It made pressure on his face, and then so Umar started crying, saying that like, the entire creation is created for you, yet in what situation you are. So you would deserve sleeping in like high cushions like the kings do. So Rasulullah's response is, let that world be theirs, for example. So in this case, like, being now that he is the sort of the administrator, at top of administrator, he didn't choose to live such a life, for example. So I think this is also telling us, giving us an example of the boundary of service versus comfort. So to what extent am I pursuing remembrance of the Creator and offering my thanks to the Creator? And to what extent are those comforts and pleasures are a means for that? I guess that's the question.
Jazakallah khairan, very similar example. So I apologize, I don't know the source of it, so I cannot tell you this is from Bukhari or Muslim or any of these. But a relative of the Prophet gives him a more comfortable the mattress, let's say, of that time, whatever it is made of, and he accepts it. He says, okay, thank you, and he sleeps on it. But then he misses the morning prayer, the Fajr, because it was comfortable, maybe too comfortable to him. Then he says, oh, please take it away. So we see that he was not against, let's say, a more comfortable means for him, but in his specific situation, it was not good for him in the terms of worshiping. So he realized, he experienced that whatever given to him was a let's say, obstacle before his worship, then he refutes it. So it's not about whether the mattress was, comfortable or not, because we start from there, right? We say, okay, I have to be pious, and the one way to show your piety is to sleep on the floor, let's say. But Prophet didn't start from there. The Prophet's question or concern was, which one would make me worship better? And then the decision was made based on that. Again, apologize first and foremost. May Allah forgive me if what I narrated is false or mistaken or the partial. Okay, if there are no other comments, and all comments are welcome, we are not in hurry. I will start with the third step. Okay. Ya Allah, as the verse, whatever good happens to you is from God, but whatever evil befalls you is from yourself, teaches, the nature of the evil commanding soul demands that it always considers goodness to be from itself. The nature of evil commanding soul demands that it always considers goodness to be from itself and becomes vain and conceited. This is your initial state. Thus, in this step, a person sees only faults, defects, and impotence and poverty in himself, and understand that all his good qualities and perfections are bounties bestowed on him by the all-glorious Creator. He gives thanks instead of being conceited, and offers praise instead of boasting. According to the meaning of the verse, truly he succeeds who purifies it. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, right? Let me see. Yes, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. According to the meaning of the verse, truly he succeeds who purifies it. His purification at this stage is to know his perfection to lie in imperfection, his power in impotence, and his wealth in poverty. His perfection to lie in imperfection, his power in impotence, his wealth in poverty. So the purifies it, and this it refers to, as far as I understand, nafs. We can look This is from Shams, Surah Shams, and it starts as by the sun, it brightens and its brightness, sorry. وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا وَالْقَمَرِ إِذَا تَلَاهَا, and the moon as it follows it. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَاهَا, and the day as it unveils it. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا, and the night as it conceals it. So it talks about, you know, all the order we see in the universe and the knowledge inscribed in the universe, in our experience, which goes back to our study of Qadar, because as you would remember, the Qadar, we take it as the divine knowledge, as a type of divine knowledge. وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا, and by heaven and the one who built it. وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا تَحَاهَا, and the earth and the one who spread it. These are very short verses, you know, the ayahs, so it's easy to read. And I'm just cheating. You know, if it was a little bit longer, I would just read the Turkish translation. Okay, from here, yeah, the وَالنَّفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, and by the soul, the nafs, and the one who fashioned it. I don't know what word this sawaha, sawa exactly correspond.
It means to make level.
To make level? What do you mean?
Taswiyah, making things at the same level.
Oh, tasbih, okay, like a floating, okay.
Yeah, like in Turkey, there are machines, torna tesviye, if you know that machine. So it is the same, that word, like making things at the two seviye. You know the word seviye, I guess.
Yes. Okay. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, and then with knowledge of right and wrong inspired it. So it says, then he inspired it, right? Yeah, okay. Then he inspired it, what it inspired it, the wickedness, you know, what is wrong, and taqwa, what is right. So, you know, we're talking about the nous and the one who fashioned it to have, let's say, different levels, maybe, and then inspired it. So the soul has access to what is right and what is wrong, and then قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. So the one who purifies it is the one who is successful. As if the one who accepts good or goodness and then reject wickedness or the wrong, this is the one who succeeds. This is how I understood these ayahs, but if you have a better understanding, please go ahead and share. And then the rest is to talk about the second, following ayah talks about the other way, the inverse. وَقَدْ وَقَدْ حَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. My cause, unlike, you know, what Yusuf were talking about last week, to conceal the mistakes. My coughs are real, I can tell you. And the doom is the one who corrupts it. So, okay, going back to text, his purification at this stage is to know his perfection lie in imperfection, his poverty, impotence, and his wealth in poverty. So we discussed this a little bit in the previous, I would say weeks, but actually it's years, because it was 23rd verse, right? When we studied something similar, when we studied خلق الإنسان في أحسن تقويم. Anyway, we studied something similar there too, but this is interesting. It's like a poetic, let's say, contrast, perfection and imperfection, power and impotence, wealth in poverty. But we know that the author's style is not poetry. So it's not just, giving us a poetic contrast to excite us or to give some, a tiny bit of truth out of it. But I assume he means it. Like he says, when he says his perfection lie in imperfection, he means every word. So if this is the case, what should we understand from here? Any idea? Any suggestions? We have Yusuf, but before giving mic to Yusuf, if others who we know to have a better comprehension of such contrasts, people like Ayşenur, Hatice Beyza, if you like to say something, you have the priority. I will give the mic to you even before Yusuf. So I'm waiting a few seconds for you. Otherwise, Yusuf can speak. Okay, let's listen, Yusuf, inshallah.
I thank people for allowing me to talk, Brother Birkan. Despite you, see, people allow me to talk. Alhamdulillah. So it's interesting that he says the perfection in this stage is at imperfection. So this feels like for the purpose of human perfection, your imperfection is going to lead you to the perfection. This is what it sounds like. Why does it sound like a contradiction? Because I feel like my goal of reaching perfection in this life is if I learn the best, if I become the strongest, like meaning taking those qualities on me. But since the major point here, as the author was initially saying, the path that leads to the creator, the goal is not to reach personal perfection here. The goal is to reach the perfect one, which is the creator. So in this case, the perfection belongs to him. So how can I reach this? Then I think in here, the mirror analogy fits perfectly. If I'm going to become mirror of light, the darker I am, or the more I realize the darkness within me, to that extent, I will realize the light. Or in terms of mirror, as much as I am a colorless mirror, I wouldn't distort the beauty that is reflecting on me. So the less I am, the more I will become I will realize the beauty that I am reflecting. Otherwise, I will start feeling like, oh, this portion of it belongs to me and the rest belongs to him, sort of. And this is where I think is why the author in here is saying that the purification is to know my perfection lies in my imperfection, or the fact that I am imperfect, or I do not own anything. And this is also interesting in the sense of how to understand two verses which are apparently, or at least on the surface, contradicting each other. The first one was فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. It was saying that do not purify yourselves. And now in this stage, we are talking about قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. So the one who purifies it wins, in a sense. Well, initially you said don't purify it, and now you are saying purify it. What does that mean? So putting it into the context, purify meaning do not purify yourself from faults, which we studied in the first step. And now in the third step, we are talking about purify yourself from claiming anything. Do not claim anything on yourself. Give away all those property that you claim to yourself. Be pure, meaning realize that you are totally needy.
Really important points. The one thing I like to highlight from what you said is perfection belongs to him, or knowledge belongs to him. The wisdom, power, all belong to him. So I am in the pursuit of perfection, but not in the sense that I become perfect. I'm just trying to experience the perfection as it is manifested in my life. So the contrast would be trying to be perfect person. So this is what is usually taught us, right? We try to be the perfect person, which means actually whatever we have, we claim having some attributes, qualities, and then we also claim that we can expand them, we can advance them, further them. I have knowledge, so I will increase my knowledge. I have compassion, I will increase my compassion. But rather here, the author says, no, you will reach the true perfection once you realize that it is his perfection that you are willing to reach. This is your goal. So the knowledge, yes, we are in pursuit of knowledge, but not to accumulate knowledge, not to attribute knowledge to ourselves, but to experience knowledge, divine knowledge as it is manifested in the universe. We are in pursuit of that. So one very practical example, we see that the Creator creates everything in a clean fashion. So you can take cleanness in different ways, but here I'm very, I'm referring to the very mundane version of it. Like the clean in the sense of not dirty. We see that if a flower is dirty, the next rain cleans it. Or a bug that, feed by dirt would clean it. Then I say, okay, I shouldn't contradict that. I should be part of this cleanness. I should worship my Creator by being clean. Hence, I become clean. Otherwise, it's not like, oh, I like cleanness, or, I should be clean because I'm a clean person. I like cleaning. No, the cleaning is a quality that I experience in the universe, in the creation, that takes me to my all glorious Creator. And then I like to be, I like to experience this. So I do not block it with my dirtiness. So it's interesting, like this is, I guess, in contrast to certain other ideologies, other, let's say, theological paths in which you have to deprive yourself from the perfection or pleasures or, the wealth or anything. Here, the author does not say that your goal is perfection. His perfection to lie in imperfection, but not your perfection. To experience his perfection, this is your goal. Or your power is in impotence. To the extent you realize that you are impotent, you don't have power, but still you are hungry for power. You say, okay, he is the only source of the power, and I will try to reach that. The same way, the wealth and in poverty. So you realize your poverty and be thankful for every wealth that you are given. All of them are given. This is the way to reach the true wealth, realizing that it is from his treasures. On the other hand, he's not also suggesting that you should be the richest person. Oh, the Muslims should be the richest. Muslims should drive the best sport cars. So this is not the, the direction it takes either. So it's really the Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path. Not suggesting misery, not suggesting richness, but enjoying the true richness by realizing your poverty. Any comments so far? Otherwise, I will continue with the fourth step. The fourth step, as the verse, everything will perish, save his continence teaches, the evil commanding soul considers itself to be free and independent and to exist of itself. So I exist by myself. This is my state, like I exist and I sustain my existence. There is this inertial existence, just like inertial movement, right? Because of this, man claims to possess a sort of dominicality. He harbors a hostile rebelliousness towards his true object of worship. Thus, through understanding the following fact, he is saved from this. The fact is this: according to the apparent meaning of things, which looks to each thing itself, everything is transitory, lacking, accidental, non-existent. So if you look at the things themselves, you will realize that they are transitory, and in this very sense, they don't even exist. So I think it seems to exist right now, but I know that the next moment he won't exist. Like there's no guarantee. It's like the flickering light. But according to the meaning that signifies something other than itself, and in respect of each thing being a mirror to the all glorious maker's names, and charged with various duties, each is a witness. It is witnessed and it is existent. Each is a witness, it is witnessed, and it is existent. So this part, I guess, deserves to be discussed a lot for a long time. If you are into that, if you are interested, please go ahead. Other Otherwise, I will only share my very short comments on that and then continue. So author says, if you look at the things in their own names, you will not find anything there. It's lacking, transitory, accidental. This is how it is, right? The athik is just an accidental being. He exists because he's lucky. And the next moment, there's no guarantee. Yusuf, please go ahead.
Like, as things refers to themselves, everything is equally meaningless. Like, as long as there's death and like I happen to exist, you happen to exist, like you are richer than I am, so what? Death is coming. So in this regard, if we take it only from the point of as we refer to ourselves, or Apple refers to itself and whatever, like in this existence, everything is equally meaningless. And I think in this regard, they are all the same and they are all equally non-existent, because by themselves, they don't really carry any meaning, any purpose. Although apparently I can see that one is more than the other if I put them aside. But I am imagining when I read such a sentence, for example, in a two-dimensional surface, like on a plane, let's say you are taller than me. But then when we talk about the third dimension, this is where the meaning, purpose comes into the picture. A longer line is no longer than the short line. They are equally, like in that third dimension, they are zero. So when it comes to death comes into the picture, let's say, then you and I become equally meaningful if there's nothing beyond that. And if I am not made, you are not made, and we do not point to our maker, but we simply point to our own selves, then we are equally meaningless, equally dying, equally becoming zero, as if everything is being multiplied by zero. However large numbers are, they become equivalent. So I guess in this regard, the author is making use of this manai ismi, manai harfi concepts here. So if I take the creation as it refers to its creator, then there would be a difference. But other than that, things referring to themselves, yeah, we can say that one is more than the other if we would like to talk like with the strict sense of the meaning of more and less. But in reality, it doesn't make much of a difference. Like in the game of Monopoly, I have one paper which says 100, you have another paper on it which says 500. In reality, they are equally meaningless, equally pointless, and equally valueless, which are zero. So in reality, they are non-existent the same way. So I think the author is bringing this to my attention. Do you consider yourself and likewise everything else as they point to their maker, or you take things as they are? Which reminds me of if I see like the signposts that are pointing to Manhattan versus, I don't know, like a smaller town, if I take them on the face value, like the one that points to Manhattan versus the one that points to, I don't know, Princeton, they're going to be of same size, same color, same shape, doesn't mean anything different. They're equally like blue and white. They are equally same size of metal. So in this regard, if I talk about a value for them, that's all. They are equivalent in this regard. But if I talk about, oh, one of them points to Princeton, which is a different place and a different population and whatnot, the other one points to Manhattan, which is a much larger place. So then this is where the difference comes into the picture. This is where existence, the purpose, meaning comes into the picture.
I guess the better example would be between Princeton as a university and University of Pennsylvania, that both signs would be equal in size, but we know that the UPenn is much better than the Princeton, a clearer example. So let's continue from there. And then, okay, this is the one part. If you look at things in their own names, you will find nothing but an accidental, very momentarily being lacking everything, every quality that you try to attribute, and then transitory. And this is the world view, by the way, like rendered by, most thinkers of our time as well, especially the ones, who call themselves as quote unquote intellectual and unbeliever. So this is not something the author is, blaming a certain worldview or anything. Like when you look at things in their names, this is what you're going to see. And the people who look at the things in their names, in their own names, confirm that. You will see, the writings of people saying that, oh, we are so lucky to exist because we are product of all these random, random things or random happenings. We are a speck of dust in the vast universe. We don't mean anything. We lack everything. In one sense, we are even non-existent because, again, we only have a momentary existence which doesn't have any purpose. You have to create your purpose yourself, which you lack, so you cannot. So all such, the explanations has to be contradictory. So non-existent, this is the picture you get. On the other hand, the author says there is also existence. Another possibility is the existence, and it happens when you look at things in the name of their makers. Now they have their duties, which means they have a purpose. They reflect all the beautiful names of the maker. They worship the maker. They glorify their maker. This is the duty, this is their purpose. Each is a witness, which means, there are certain qualities given to them that they can experience. I enjoy wisdom, I enjoy compassion, I enjoy power in this creation. I can see all these qualities. I don't have to deny them, unlike the first approach. There you have to deny all the qualities you see, and this is what happens. You talk about the art in the creation, and you are right away refuted. The people would say, you're just making up. You see all these qualities that you experience, you witness them. At the same time, you are witnessed. So your existence is confirmed. You are witnessed by the first and foremost, your creator. But at the same time, as you manifest, as you reflect the beautiful names of your creator, everything else, the entire universe also witness your existence through the names that you reflect. So your existence is confirmed, is guaranteed. You exist. There's an evidence for it, let me put it that way. But when you try to look the things in their own names, you will not find any evidence of the existence. There is no witnessing. You don't witness anything, and you are not witnessed. Hence, there's no existence. The purification and cleansing of a person at this stage is as follows. In his existence, he is non-existent. If you look at himself in the name of himself, you realize that there's no existence there. And in his non-existence, he has existence. To the extent you say, I am created, I need my creator to sustain my creation, I need Al-Hayy, Al-Qayyum, then you have your existence. That is to say, if he values himself and attributes existence to himself, he is in a darkness of non-existence as great as the universe. If you try to sustain your own existence, the next moment you realize that you will die. Talk about a person who thinks, you know, he lives or she lives, and that's it. The moment the death is reminded, the fear will come, the darkness will come, because you know that you cannot create yourself next moment. There is no guarantee there, and you don't have power, and you will die. You will go to non-existence, the darkness. Nothing will save you, so you will fear darkness.
Ask 30 minutes before the next prayer.
That is, if he relies on his individual existence and is unmindful of the true giver of existence, he has an individual light of existence like that of a firefly and is submerged in an endless darkness of non-existence and separation. Let me read this again, sorry. If here, I will confess, because my, the clock reminded me the prayer time. While reading, I was asking myself, did I pray the Asr prayer or not? And I prayed, Alhamdulillah. That is, if he relies on his individual existence and is unmindful of the true giver of existence, he has an individual light of existence like that of a firefly and is submerged in an endless darkness of non-existence and separation. So this is, to me, extremely important. So please, everyone, listen very carefully. I will read it again. He has an individual light of existence like that of a firefly. So your life is like a flickering light. It's there and then it disappears. It's submerged in an endless darkness. Every single moment, the death will be reminded, and you will experience its darkness and separation. So you will be afraid to lose things. Oh, my child will leave me. My husband will leave me. My wife will leave me. My parents will leave me, which is true. Separation is there, and the fear is there. But this fear will become darkness for you if you rely on yourself. If you do not see that the life you enjoy, the life of your child or your parent, is from the life giver, then you will see darkness. But if you realize that what is given to you is from him, then the separation will become a means to find the true connection with your child, with your parent, or with your whatever you are afraid to lose. But if he gives up egotism and sees that he is a mirror of the manifestations of the true giver of existence, he gains all beings and an infinite existence. For he who finds the necessary existent one, the manifestation of whose names all beings manifest, finds everything. So I have to stop here to listen your valuable comments and questions, inshallah.
Since nobody's talking, I'll talk. So,
Please go ahead.
I mean, it sounds like the existence, non-existence in here, it might sound too philosophical. Let's put it into context. So, to the extent that I say I am losing it. To the extent that I say I am strong, I am smart, I am young, or I don't know, I have a good sense of humor, any of the things, as much as I attribute them to myself, I make them meaningless, I make them valueless, because they will die with me. I were not really the source of them, yet I am claiming that I am. So as much as I put those on my shoulders and claiming to own them, it of course makes life much harder for me, because I, as you said, I cannot source them for the next moment anyways. And I know that deep inside, I know this is the case, but also I make them meaningless. If I take it, and Nusi is giving a very good example of that in terms of writing Quran with like gold letters, let's say. If I simply make them as, if I investigate such a Quran written with valuable stones or gold and whatnot, its value really reduces to metal. But once I realize that, oh, actually this is a text referring to or telling me the news of its author, then it becomes absolutely valuable speech of creator. So I think in this regards, do I say I am, or do I say he is? Meaning that anything that I observe on myself points to him. So it's a matter of ana versus huwa. I think this existence, non-existence in here is in regards to that. It's very, very much in my personal understanding and perception of myself versus my source.
Jazakallah khairan. Yeah, as you said, like this is very practical. Like, well, to take whatever you value, the love of your sibling. If you try to, try to hold on it as it is, you will realize that it is not even there anymore. But then, if you realize this love is given by the all-loving one, the necessary existent one, the all-knowing one, the necessarily loving one, then you will realize that it is endless love. The one who finds him finds everything. Okay, I'd like to read the conclusion as well in one breath, and then we can make the comments overall. I'd like to finish the 26th word today, inshallah. The conclusion: the 4 steps in this way of impotence, poverty, compassion, and reflection have been explained in the 26 words so far written. So this is the 26th word, starting from the first word, second word, up until the 26th word. all the words you read so far, author says, it was the explanation of this way of impotence, poverty, compassion, and reflection, which are concerned with knowledge of reality, the reality of the Sharia, and the wisdom of the Quran. So here we shall allude briefly to only one or 2 points as follows. Indeed, this path is shorter because it consists of 4 steps. When impotence removes the hand from the soul, it gives it directly to the all-powerful one of the glory. Whereas when the way of ecstatic love, the swiftest way, takes the hand away from soul, it attaches to the metaphorical beloved. So not the all glorious one, but to the metaphorical beloved. Only after the beloved is found to be impermanent does it go to the true beloved. So there is this intermediary step. Also, this path is much safer because the ravings and high-flown claims of the soul are not present on it. For apart from impotence, poverty, and defect, the soul possesses nothing so that it oversteps its mark. So one contrast would be relying on, let's say, the reasoning. So saying that, okay, I will find my God through reasoning. You can do that, but there's always a very real danger of being lost in being the most reasonable person. You will attribute this reasoning to yourself, and you will still have to deal with such an attribution. Also, this path is much broader and more universal. For in order to attain to a constant awareness of God's presence, taqwa, in order to attain taqwa, a person is not compelled to imagine the universe to be condemned to non-existence and to declare there is no existence but He. So you don't have to do that, he says. Like those who believe in the unity of existence. Unity of existence, which is the wahdat al-wujud, right? Wahdat al-wujud. Nor to suppose the universe to be condemned to imprisonment in absolute oblivion, and to say there is nothing witnessed but He. I guess this is wahdat al-shuhud, maybe?
Yes.
Like those who believe in the unity of witnessing. So it's like one thing is assuming that universe is not even existent, denying everything, taking everything as a dream or something, or saying that, yeah, maybe the universe exists, but everything is condemned to imprisonment. So neither is necessary. Rather, since the Quran has most explicitly pardoned the universe and released it from execution and imprisonment, one on this path disregards the above and dismissing beings from working on their own account and employing them on the account of the all-glorious Creator, and in the duty of manifesting the most beautiful names and being mirrors to them, he considers them from the point of being, of signifying something other than themselves. And being saved from absolute heedlessness, he enters the divine presence permanently. he finds a way leading to Almighty God in everything. So again, if you look at things in their own names, yes, they are condemned. There's nothing but darkness, nothing but imprisonment. It's, it has a partial truth. But because the Quranic way is not to look at them in their own names, but in name of their all glorious creator, realizing that they perform all these beautiful duties, manifesting all these beautiful names, when you look at the universe, you see nothing but the beauty. This glorious creation, the machinery working. Maybe machinery is not the good analogy because it implies some other ideologies. But the things, everything you see is working really hard to perform a duty in such a order, in a beautiful order, powerful order, in a very glorious order. You enjoy it. You reach the divine presence through the universe, not through denying it, through the universe. But when you see the universe, when you see the creation in his names, he finds a way leading to Almighty God in everything. Going back to Atik's original question, but I'm working. Yes, continue working. You can find a path to Almighty God in your work. But how about my children? I enjoy children. Yes, you can find a way to Almighty God in your children. In short, dismissing beings from working on account of the other beings or on their own names, this way is to not look at them as signifying themselves. So this is the summary of the way that author describing. And Yusuf, let's listen to your beautiful concluding remarks, inshallah.
So it is interesting that author concluded this chapter of 26th word with referring to Wahdatul Wujud and Wahdatul Shuhud. And I think it is not coincidental that in a sense in here there is a fundamental difference of path which author followed in 26th word in his understanding of qadar and juz-i ikhtiyari, that made it possible to explain the matter which wouldn't be possible if we were to follow the path of Wahdatul Wujud or Wahdatul Shuhud or classical Kalam scholarship. What is that? In Wahdatul Wujud, for example, there was the issue. The issue is I am trying to understand in a sense, comparing the nature of the creator versus nature of the creation. And since I put them side by side, I need to say the existence does not exist really. Everything that I observe is him. Because otherwise, if anything else exists, since I put them side by side, anything else becomes a limiting factor for the creator himself. So it doesn't work. This is why you have to then say it does not anything else does not exist, but it's all him. So the issue in here was trying to, in a sense, defining the nature of things. If you try to go intellectually defining it. Otherwise, if you say that, no, I'm just going to feel about it, I'm talking about my feelings, it's a totally different story anyways. When it comes to Wahdatul Shuhud is sort of saying that Wahdatul Wujud is problematic over there, but let's talk about what I observe. So the author is saying that let's not talk about any of these. Let's talk about what I am experiencing I am created, and from that end, do I own anything? Or who is the owner of these things? What I am observing is I am being given existence. I am being given created. I am being provided. On my end, I don't own anything, but I am constantly being made. So in this regard, what can I conclude from here? The same approach he applied for power of choice as well. What do I experience on this end? I'm not trying to define the nature of choice. I'm not trying to define where my choice and God's choice touch each other, like as if I'm not putting them side by side and comparing my choice to Creator's choice. So, because as I try to do it, this is where the contradictions were coming into the picture. And this is what the author was trying to do in the second portion of this text. He was showing me that the reason I take these two concepts contradictory is because I try to define the nature of power of choice. I try to define the nature of God's will. So don't do that. Just look at what you are doing from your end, what things look like. And it is that I am needy, I am being given existence. So therefore, there is this provider, sustainer, all-knowing one. So this is why he knows, he must be knowing everything, like based on the things as they come into being within a plan. I am sure that he knows everything. Everything happens within a plan. On my end, I also feel like I am given this choice, and also I must, there must be a tool in me which is going to make me responsible. So I take the responsibility on my end, but when it comes to claiming ownership over anything, I don't have anything to claim really. So this very beautiful balance is consistent. This perspective of the author consistently led us to that conclusion. And this is what was making it hard for wahdatul wujud, wahdatul shuhud, or anything on this line to arrive to such a conclusion. So that's what I wanted to say, because the problem is the same problem. In the regular way, the problem, when it's applied to existence, you come to see you have to say wahdatul wujud or wahdatul shuhud. When you apply the same problem to, rather than my existence versus Creator's existence, when you apply it to my choice versus God's will, it becomes the problem about qadar. But nature of the problem is the same, if it makes sense.
Jazakallah. Yeah, I mean, at least to me, it makes sense. So I'm waiting for other comments and questions for a few seconds. If not, I'd like to conclude here. Next week, inshallah, we will start from 27th. It's very exciting. It's a really interesting topic about ijtihad, coming up with new ways of doing things in religion. So we will see. It's very practical also. Okay, let's end here. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.